SEALs, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
And the Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here with Troy Otto and Doug Milson. How you boys doing today?
Good, man. You?
I'm hanging in there. What about you, Troy?
Happy to be back. I'd rather be in the well, all the comforts of the well, the booze, the nice amenities, Brian's charm, but something's better than nothing,
I mean, we all saw your workout video today of you doing some suicides. Before we got on the air, we heard about you going to raise ice cream as well. I do want to say Dylan practically snapped the whole lottery, and there were some shots of you looking a little unflattering around the waistline. So how is the diet going? Up, down, in between?
Oh, the diet's in great shape. I took the family to raise and did not get any ice cream for myself. So that's the restraint. So down to 216 this morning, and I'll be at about 209 by the time the keg finals go, and that's down from 243. So I'm ready to rock.
That's not bad at all. How's your weight doing, Doug, during the quarantine?
I was disappointed how fat I looked on that video today. I was like, God damn, I've lost a lot of weight and I still look fat. But
I didn't see that video.
Yeah, I'm assuming Doug, the runner / biker, your weight and fitness is under control during a time like this.
Yeah, I also went to Rays. I just got back from Rays and ordered a single that was a double, and I smashed every piece of it, and it was wonderful.
Well, you deserve it. So
it was good.
Yeah, I'm trying to be good. I'm actually down 5 pounds in the last month during the beginning of the quarantine. A little too much ice cream, a little too many beers, and I've kind of went back on that. Now that it's warmed up a little bit, I go on my daily 3.5 to 4 mile walk a day. I see Doug every once in a while walking by. Doug's probably in the top 10 of people I've seen in person and talked to in person since the quarantine, and that's probably been 4 times.
Yeah, you've been well behaved then, for sure.
Yeah, I think your wife is in the top 10 too, as people seen as well. So kind of pathetic, but anyways, we're trying to do.
I commend your efforts.
Yeah, it's getting a little tiresome, but I think we need to get down to business. People have been saying we need to get a podcast. We're trying the makeshift one. Hopefully, in another 2-3 weeks, numbers are looking good. Maybe we do get people in the well and actually give another one a try. Plus, obviously, we want to make sure there are things to talk about. So we kind of built up a list of stuff. And our first thing on the agenda would be, unfortunately, the spring season has officially been canceled. Troy, you want to give some details on this?
Yeah, I mean, it just became a sad reality that I think the earliest possible that we're going to be open is July. We still need to get the keg finals, which I will say, I'm sure for the other people in the league, they're not terribly excited about that. But I mean, if the shoe was on the other foot, I mean, you have to have the keg finals, like even if I wasn't a participant. So by the time you did the keg finals, you were looking at, maybe a 1-month season for the spring, summer. So it was just kind of like, let's just pull the plug, get it over with, and move on. It is sad. I was looking forward to seeing Peso in a management role, the has-been, say it ain't Peso. Spring's fun. I'm overly competitive, but I like kind of the loosey-goosey of the spring. So that is kind of a bummer that we missed out on that. But I think it was the right decision.
I agree. I don't know how else we would have done other things, with having new people coming into the league, trying to finish those finals. It's just that spring season is so short anyways. And I don't know how the participation would have been either way if the rinks would have been open.
Right.
Doug, I don't know. Like I've heard you talk about, you probably don't plan on skating till fall. Is that kind of the case, or is numbers looking better for you?
Yeah, I don't know that it was necessarily tied to the numbers. I was definitely initially worried and being very, very cautious. And I was saying that if it was about to be resuming, that I was probably not going to play. But I did say that I would play in the fall because I know that eventually I'll have to reassimilate with everything and with society, and like we all will with their varying comfort levels. But I don't know, just one step at a time. If it came back tomorrow when we want to go to the rink, I probably wouldn't want to do it. But by fall, I think my comfort will be there for sure.
Yeah,
I've never been teasing Piercy on that, but I mean, just being candid, I mean, everyone's got to make their own decision that they're comfortable with. But the difference between your safety, this is just my opinion, but the difference in your safety on June 15th and September 10th is probably going to be minuscule. And numbers are so low right now that the summer could possibly be the safest time to play, in my opinion, to the extent that this is, seasonal. Not that I'm an expert here, but I am concerned about I guess to me for October, November, like when we get ramped up and then we're going, everyone's at the rink, and then all of a sudden the numbers spike. That's going to be a little bit concerning, but I guess we'll just see how it goes and be flexible.
No, not up here. Hey.
Yeah, that'll be a real interesting thing as we go about, just for the fact that
No.
I know some of the colleges are actually planning on doing semesters where they're done by Thanksgiving-ish, and they're not going. I think it's Indiana University, and they don't plan on starting their winter/spring semester until February. So, I mean, Fauci recently said maybe the second wave doesn't hit as hard, but it would suck essentially starting another season and having to have a break as well. I'd like to be able to hopefully pick back up and then just kind of go.
Yep.
So
yeah, I agree.
So we've had those. Now that we know the finals are going to happen when they pick back up, do we think that this break has benefited one team or the other more? Doug, you're kind of a neutral party. Let's start with you on that.
I don't really know. I have very few updates. I have updates from Whoop, and I have updates from Troy, and I've seen Dylan now, and I've heard from Dylan, and they're all very active. Whoop looks like $1 million, not exaggerating. Troy, you look great too. Dylan's, smoking 16 darts in an hour and then going and ripping a 20-mile bike ride, and he's just a wild man. So it's great to see all the vitality. I don't know if it's hurt or helped anybody more than the other, but it's fun to watch, and I love seeing everybody get super active and healthy.
Yeah, I think over on the North Star side, Suits, I'm assuming he had time to recover, so I don't know how that him in Hollywood would be. I assume that was Math going to have surgery before? I don't know how he's feeling, if this time off's made him better as well. Troy, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, from the Seals' perspective, Whoop is obviously the biggest beneficiary. He's, he was already improving just from January to March, but he's lost a shit ton of weight. So no question that's an improvement. The North Stars, we have a group text amongst us, and everyone's, besides Ty, everyone's been awesome with their fitness. Gio's a machine. I've been doing well. Suits is a machine. Yeah, Suits will be playing. He's healthy. So there's that dynamic. Obviously, we're going to miss Hollywood, and we thank him for his efforts to get us here. But, it's always been Suits' spot, so we look forward to having him back. And then Math is a little bit tricky. Like, the time off has definitely helped his knee because he was definitely, he had stopped playing for the KFL, stopped playing for WBW, and was only playing on Mondays. So I think it's been good for his knee. I don't know, if he's been able to keep up his cardio. But Marvin's been running. So North Stars will be ready to go. Looking forward to it.
Yes, real quick, I'd like to thank Pete for a 6-month subscription to us as well. The Math thing will be interesting too, because I don't know if that'll actually be something where it's helping to heal. I thought he was talking about surgery before, so is it just hopefully it's better than it was, but I'll still have to get fixed in the long term, or if it's something that heals itself? I'm not a doctor on that side of things.
Yeah. I know that he's had multiple surgeries, and he's, I don't want to speak out of school because I don't know for sure, but he's ready to go.
Oh yeah, and like you were saying, Whoop, he's looking slim and trim. He was sending me text messages with pictures of him, and then he's trying to say, hey, tell everybody that you think I'm a 10th rounder still. I'm just like, Don't start with me on that. You got
Ugh.
a pretty decent
No
hockey
way.
IQ, except for that you couldn't skate worth a damn and you didn't hustle at all. That's the only thing that was holding you back. So if you get a little bit of stamina moving, and I don't know how much weight he's dropped, but say it's 50 to 100 pounds. That's a lot less weight you're carrying around on the ice to be able to skate faster and longer.
Yeah, I think he's down 60 pounds, give or take. So it's impressive.
Yeah, that is awesome. So um, I'm not going to go to you, Troy, because we know the answer. I don't know if you ever gave an official pick. Who is your favorite to win the keg, Doug?
I probably should have foreseen that question coming, and I'm not prepared to answer that question. I liked the Seals. I don't really have a whole lot of defense for that. Am I rooting for anybody in particular? Not really. I want to see my boy Gio lift that cup for sure. Troy wouldn't be bad either. Love you, buddy. But I don't
Okay.
know. My gut instinct is that the Seals. I think they were going to get it, but we would have to see. Wait and see.
Yeah, I'm gonna move. I don't remember what my pick was before, but I'm gonna probably move it over to the North Star or to the Seals, just for the fact that they wanted Rubel in as that sub before. Obviously, he had his mono. I'm assuming he could come back in that sub situation.
Knock it off!
Apparently, there's a ride over at Troy's house. So yeah, but I think with now having a pick of subs, who knows? Maybe the general will be back. I really doubt that, but I think they'll have more pick of subs. I think everybody will be healthy, and I think Whoop. Now you can stick him up at forward, throw Rubel back at defense. Whoop, we've seen him at forward on the KFL because he's actually scored some goals. He's got good hands and good instincts there. I think that could be the factor to decide it. And unfortunately for Whoop, that'll probably move him up to a 7th-round keeper as well. I know he'll cry about it, but I'm sure having a second cup will be good enough for that trade-off.
Yeah, for the record, I don't want to bore everyone, but I think Lapoudre is going to be their sub. Rubel had the mono, so I think they committed to Lapoudre. And, I don't know what they're going to do. They've been secretive about, whether they're going to play Whoop at forward or D or whatever. So I don't really care. It's not going to change what we do. But I do think that they're going to have Matt Lapoudre in. That's what we're expecting. And then we're going to have Suits back in, and then we're going to have Edge in for Graham, who's kind of retired from the sport. So that's where we're at. But look, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice when we have like a date to look forward to. I'm kind of anticipating Hazel Park opening, late June, and that's just a guess. But Whitmer said that she wants to do the next phase. Rinks, I think, are in the next phase. And she indicated that with this latest one that she wanted to do that before July 4th. So I could see Hazel Park opening up like kind of last weekend of June, then maybe do like a drop-in skate, and then maybe start the finals in early to mid-July.
Yeah, I agree on the time frame. With everything that's going on, as long as there's no spikes, obviously, with so far things have looked good the last 2 days. It'll be interesting to see what the rules are with hockey as far as dressing rooms go and on the bench and just in general, but I guess we'll figure that out as they come closer as well. So
Yeah.
moving on to the next subject I had on the list is, I'm sure most people know, but maybe they don't. We had 2 GMs decide to step down this year. Mr. Turtle Tim and Serta, they've stepped down, and then Busta moved over to the Whalers to join with Trent to become a GM there. So what are the thoughts on a Trent-Busta combination?
Yeah, I mean, I think Turtle, who we all love, was basically non-existent in the executive office. So really Busta ran that team. Now, when I say ran that team, as far as interfacing with the other GMs, it was Busta by himself. I don't know what Turtle did on a day-to-day, basis with the Ducks, but Busta is going to be a new father, and he didn't want to have that burden. Plus, the Ducks were a horrible franchise, so he kind of, he kind of turned turncoat, and went over to Trent. So I think that's nice. It's nice having Busta. He busts my chops, but he's good to have around. So I think he'll be a nice fit with Trent. As we know, like the Trent-Serta combo, we talked about it for years. It just, for whatever reason, never clicked. You kind of had two of the they had no flexibility because it was the two of them with their first two picks. So I think Trent's happy to kind of have a true first round draft pick. I think Serta's happy to go back into, the draft and land somewhere else. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. And then we got two new exciting GMs as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to have two, like essentially a first and second rounder not together in the draft. It gives you no flexibility. Obviously, we've seen that combo didn't work. It seemed like the Whalers were the favorites going into last year. We kind of had a mediocre season. It's kind of tough when you have those GMs to just have the flexibility even on a trade type of thing. I believe Trent is going 12 based on our draft lotto. I think that's going to be a steal for him. I think there's a couple guys based on mock drafts that I thought he should probably be a little bit higher, but that's the way it rolls. It's if you say he's not a first rounder, it's kind of you play by the rules. You get lucky sometimes. Maybe other years you don't, but good for them. Doug, what are your thoughts on this new GM combo?
I think it's good. I think there's a lot of opportunity. Trent's looking at a new look for his first rounder, like you guys said, and I like Busta just with Trent because he could complement him if they're on the same line. If Trent's up, I always say I feel like it falls on deaf ears, but Busta with the right line mates is very lethal. Busta with a hot pass from my stick as an opponent, very lethal. So it could work really, really well, and they both have the smarts and the experience. So it's not like it's just one brand new guy joining Trent. I think they're gonna do well.
Yeah, I believe everything I heard. It sounded like Busta was a pretty good athlete in high school. You see it in spurts. You see he's got a shot. He can shoot the puck. He can put it where it needs to go. So if he can get in the right spot and you can feed him, he can score goals. So when you're going with those later round picks, I don't know if he's going to be a ninth or a 10th. There's definitely value there where there's not a lot of those guys that are scoring if you put them in the right spot.
Yep.
For sure.
So that moved us over to, like we said, the Ducks dispersed. We were looking for new GMs, and we'll move over to Dougie because Dougie and his partner Joey Brennan got the call for the new team. So give us your thoughts on it and tell us about the new team name and how it kind of came about as well.
I'm excited for sure. I've been flirting with the idea and like poking at Drager and Troy specifically for a couple of years, and really enjoyed last spring when I got a chance to do it too. So I put my name in the mix, and it was a little bit of a process with the whole election, but I'm happy to be doing it, and especially be doing it with Joey as a team of Clausen Canadians, Canadian expatriates. So, the hardest thing about the whole process actually was choosing the team name. So in that ivory tower that I'm now a member of, they were probably really sick of hearing about it because we were hemming and hawing for weeks probably, because we really wanted to do the Canucks. Just obviously just the name by itself with two Canadian guys at the helm would have been cool, but they're still technically an active franchise, and I didn't want to go against the spirit of the naming convention of the league. But I really did like the uniforms too, that late mid 90s Pavel Bure black with the gold and red details, the flying skate, plus all the variables that they had for their uniforms too. I'm like, man, that would be sweet. But we talked about it a lot, and I don't have this weird knowledge or history of the Maroons, but I really like their uniform, and the color is going to be unique no matter what year we're in because it's maroon, and there's a ton of variations we can steal from using the Harvard colors in their uniform design. So it should be fun, and it's unique. There's definitely a story. I know the Maroons won the cup, I think in the 19 teens at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know about that whole spirit of the team type thing because maybe it's just me, but I remember when the North Stars moved to Dallas. Essentially, they just dropped the North and the very little change in the uniform. The Mighty Ducks, the Ducks,
Yep.
That was kind of. So I think there's, in my personal opinion, I think there's some people who've kind of broken that spirit, or the spirit wasn't fully there as well. So I don't know. I mean, Ivory Tower, you guys kind of pick the names, agree upon those type as well. You could have tried to do the whole, if you really didn't like that, you could have tried to do the Jets and say we were doing the old
Well,
Jets?
that was
That
definitely a
could have been the
possibility.
ring. I
Was
Yeah.
that
love
Troy?
the old. I threw the jet. I threw that out as a possibility. I love the Paul Eisebert Jets unis. Bob
Oh
Essenza.
heck yes. Oh yeah, nice reference. But it's that royal blue with the. They have all the variations with the actual plane on it, and that old logo is amazing. I just think it's Timu. I love Timu.
Oh yeah, that was. I mean, all those like you were saying, the Canucks back then, the Jets back then. I think it was all from NHL, probably
Oh
94,
yeah.
95, whatever. You knew all those guys. You kind of had the place in your heart for all those teams because they were so good back then. I think even the Sabres were awesome with like LaFontaine and
Yep.
all
The
those
only
guys.
We're really
Exact.
dating ourselves here, boys, as three of the senior elders of the league. Some of the other guys are wondering who the hell we're talking about.
It's a history lesson for the young people. It's actually I knew more about hockey probably back then than I do now, so it's not really saying a lot. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean, we're not
interesting.
as old as Gibb or like Simonelli, but close
Brawny.
enough. Yeah,
How
well, holy shit, yeah, he's a fossil.
how much of the factor of the uniform helped you guys choose it because of just that color as well?
I don't know, man. I had to like just close that chapter and move on because I think I also was driving Joey nuts. I mean, we were texting back and forth, showing each other jerseys, and then I think the selling point, or the tipping point, I should say. Actually, Trent posted a option of the jersey to the Ivory League channel, and it's just a beautiful, simple jersey. It's just maroon with a white M, crest on the front, and a couple of white stripes on the sleeve. And I just fell in love with it right away. So I said, let's just do that because it's going to be unique. And the other one I forgot to mention that we were super interested in, and I know that Cowboy Cohen is super disappointed that we didn't go with it. And there's a part of my heart that is very disappointed in it too, because I think it's the best sweater in hockey history is this Toronto St. Pat's. But at the same time, there's just hardly any ounce of any of me that can like permit being a Toronto-based team. I grew up in Windsor. I'm a Detroit fan. All of my Windsor friends are either a Maple Leaf fan or a Red Wing fan. It's a very heated topic, and I would never be able to face them and say I willingly took a St. Pat's jersey on.
I don't know the history of it. I mean, that's a cool looking jersey. I know they wear it once a year. I don't know the history of the franchise at all. So other than a sweet jersey, I'm not.
Well, that
don't
one
know
I did look up. It's basically they were catering to from what I recall, they were catering to the Irish population that was very strong at the time in Toronto, trying to get them to like be a more rabid fan base and fill the stadium. So it was to get them more involved for a brief stint in time.
So was it a whole separate franchise, or was it just a version of the Maple Leafs jerseys that they wore?
I think it was actually the Maple Leafs before they were the Maple Leafs,
Gotcha.
or maybe as an in between. I'd have to look that up again, but it was a legit team.
Yeah, it's a cool sweater, no doubt about it. But,
Yeah, I think it's always tough to pick those team names when you're trying to get colors between all the things, right? Like even though it's against the whole, like you were saying, you want to do the Canucks. I still think the Kings would be a cool one to do, just based on you could you could do the two purple and gold combinations, and you could do like the Gretzky ones as well. They have a lot of different jerseys combinations that would work color scheme wise for the league, which I think would be cool.
As long as it's not the variation from this year's outdoor game with those glossy silver helmets that were blinding to look at.
yes, those were disgusting. But I love the Jimmy Carson crown, old school '80s '90s. LA Kings.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
90s.
Marcel Dion.
Like I said, you could essentially be doing. You have the Lakers colors essentially going is what they modeled them after, I believe. And you could do a purple, you could do a gold one, you could do the black, you could do the silver, the white, all good combinations.
Is it paying homage to the Lakers? I never connected the dot on that.
They originally were using the Lakers colors, and then when Gretzky came, they moved over to when it was the L.A. Raiders colors. They moved over to as well. So they were kind of doing L.A. colors, which is kind of cool.
That's what the Penguins did. I mean, the Penguins when they broke in, they were kind of that baby blue, and then they switched to silver and black to kind of align with
black and yellow.
That's what. Right. So yeah, they did that to align with the Steelers
and the Pirates.
And the Pirates. There you go.
So yeah, Pittsburgh, all three of their major sports teams all have black and yellow or gold or whatever you want to call it. So that is kind of cool as well. So yeah, so Now moving on to about players for the upcoming season. We're already moving on to fall. Did I miss something?
Whoa. Before we move on, we gotta say the trusted voice was this fucking close to being a GM. I just want to know. It was razor thin. This guy right here was his number one advocate, and I was this close to getting Piercy in, and we'll get him there sometime. But we can't just blow past that topic. I thought there were a lot of good candidates, and it was the razor thin. But one of these days, we're going to get the trusted voice in the ivory tower. So just keep trucking along. I'm going to kick Ty to the curb one of these days and just hand the keys over to Piercy.
All right, so that's why I hesitated on the description. I was trying to be diplomatic, Troy. I'll give the real deal story here. I filled out my application and I said I would like to be a GM, and the second question was if yes, who are your chosen candidates? And I put I would be happy to do it with either Joe or Piercy. And so then there was a vote, and basically it came down to the numbers. And yes, it would have been great to do it with either one of them, but Piercy, I hope you get one in the future, and I wish you the best of luck, buddy.
It's all good. I don't want to I'm mad about it, anything like that. I still enjoy the league. I still have fun. Obviously, I would have liked to do it, but you and Joey, I consider my boys. I think you both did a good job in the spring. If it's not going to be me, you were probably my two top guys, Clausen guys as well. So I'm happy for you guys, and it's something I don't think you need to make a big deal on something like the podcast about. So, but I appreciate it.
It was. I mean, it's fun. It's a tricky deal because it's not, and then we'll move past it. But it's like there's more good candidates than spots available. And guys that I really didn't even think had an interest, like a Crunk and a Weaver, those guys would have been great too, and then Sukas and Wright. So it's like there's lots of good choices, and it's kind of a bummer because you kind of want everyone to have that opportunity. So as much as I love being a GM, and I love the North Stars, and I got to get a keg first, but at some point, I'll step aside so that someone else has an opportunity to do it as well. Because it is fun,
Oh God, I could see you in the draft player pool. Weakness tries to take over your team. So
guilty as charged. What can you do?
So let's move on to the player pool. So sounds like we have some guys that aren't coming back next year, unfortunately. Do you want to give us a little rundown of that, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, you got. If I miss anybody, let me know. But obviously we had Slocum leave, during the year for a job down south. McCracken's been MIA for 2 years in a row, but he pays his money and then doesn't show up. But he's officially done. Graham, my buddy, just disappointing. He was just never able to work out the logistics of it to show up consistently, and that doesn't look to get any better in the future. So he's a one and done. Your cousin D. Cunn is out. That one doesn't really surprise me. I like Darren. I did everything within my power to just try to get some enthusiasm going. And he's a really nice guy. And when he's there, he has a good time, but he just, you can tell he just doesn't love it, So he pulled the plug. And then the Spicy Tendy, unfortunately, it sounds like he got called back to duty. I think he reports back in September, October. So he's out. And am I missing anybody? Oh, Sam Maki had the injury, so he won't be back, at least not for next year. So I think those are the guys that are out. And then to replace them, we offered invitations to anybody who had been in the league previously. So we sent out a re-invitation to Wilkie, who accepted. Gumma, who was a part-time sub this year, accepted, a full spot. And then we offered a spot to Hale. Hales did not accept. We offered a spot to Belasia. He did not accept. And I think that's about it. I don't know if I'm missing anyone.
No ace?
Excuse me?
Mr. Cherry Pecora?
We actually did not. I didn't even think. Well, Pecora's been out for so long. I didn't think of him. So, and we went through the list earlier. So if I'm missing anybody, my apologies. But we are gonna. It looks like we probably will have 1 to 2 spots open, and then we'll go through that process.
What about Hollywood? Did he get an invite based on him
Hollywood,
subbing?
Hollywood has an invite, and he's a tentative yes. So I mean, in my mock drafts include him. I think I'm going to be able to, he wants to. It's just obviously he has 3 children as well, and he plays hockey multiple nights a week. So it's just it's not a want to. It's just he doesn't want to commit and then be one of these guys that doesn't show up. So, but I think in the end, he'll be in the league.
Then correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously Hedis, we already said, unfortunately isn't playing. We have another person that we're losing another goalie, I guess, at least.
Yeah. So the goal. I mean, these goalies, can't be content in the pipes, But J Flo, who's been just a great goalie for the league, he shows up every week. Great goalie, Mr. Consistency, but he wants to skate out. So we said if we could find another goalie, we'd give him that chance. So Antioch has a buddy to take J Flo's spot to allow him to skate out, and then Cone is in charge of finding replacement goalies, and I think he has 4 or 5 guys that are interested, and we're just trying to wait for the rinks to open up so that we can get them out on the ice and take a look at them.
Hey,
but it's possible that Cone is skating out as well, and J Flo skating out, and Hedis leaving. So the goalie situation could look a lot different next year.
Sounds like a perfect opportunity in 2021 to expand to that 8th team.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of scary bringing on the new goalies. Like no goalies, no league. So it's a little scary. And obviously it'd be hypocritical of me to tell Cone and J Flo, stay in the pipes. So I'm not going to do that. But anytime you get new guys, it's like it's scary because they could flake out. Like goalies seem to have a pretty high flake out percentage. Like we had a Swan Tech. He started, he flaked out. We had that goalie Ronnie. He flaked out. So we've had Leader. He didn't flake out during the year, but he kind of bailed. So it would be a little nerve wracking to go in with like 3 or 4 new goalies, and then we get a month into it, they have no kind of commitment to the league. It's not like they pay any money and they just not feeling it, and then they're just like, I'm out of here. So it's a little scary.
So it sounds like we're gonna have 2, possibly 3 goalies if Hedis and J Flo are not at all,
Right.
and then possibly Cone. Doug, being a rookie GM, that's got to be kind of nerve wracking. And how do you approach that with like 3 possible goalies you've never seen before?
Oh, it's nerve wracking for sure. And my pick is number 4. So I'm like, or maybe not, because of the way Troy, you're going to talk about this in a little bit, I think. But with the way that we think it's going to play out, I still have the ability to pick a known commodity. But if I was at the 5th pick, that does get scary pretty quickly to roll the dice on a goalie for the season that you might have seen once in a raid skate. So it's I think we're all in that same boat for like there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, and I remember, last year I remember Dylan being an unknown. He subbed for the Worms a couple times. I said I liked how he was playing for how long ago he said he didn't play for a couple years. He showed a lot of potential. So, but that's always the thing. You get a guy in, he looks like he has a decent game, and then he kind of comes to his normal self. It's a scary notion right there.
For sure.
Yeah. So the one Antioch, we have one goalie committed, and Antioch's buddy, and he seems to be like a known commodity. Not to me, but and just having the lotto, there's I'm not that concerned about it because I think unless he just turns out to be a complete stud, better than everybody, but Antioch, who seems to be a trustworthy fellow, claims that that's not true. But the Americans got the number 2 goalie draft position, so the Whalers have the 1st pick. I assume that they're probably going to take Dylan. That would be my guess. Dylan, maybe Cam, I guess. But and then Antioch is going to have the number 2 pick, so he's going to take his buddy, and then the Nordiques have the 3 pick, and so if Cone's in net, then there's no selection there, and then I think it's the Maroons with the 4th pick, and that's when it gets interesting because then it's like, do you take like a Cam who or do you take a chance on one of these new guys? So that you don't know, so it'll be interesting. And then we still have Riley and Ryan Z, who I think will probably end up in the last 2 taken.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing if Kona has a couple options. It's always nice to have those goalies, back up to, either as subs or just to know just in case for the future, as always, because you can never have enough goalies, as we know, because they always want to become skaters.
Correct.
So that'll be interesting. I don't know if there's any interest from Leader about coming back as well. He did skate for the Worms on Fridays last year.
Yeah, we reached out to him and we gave him the option, but he just with work, I think he wakes up at 5 a.m. on Tuesdays for work, so that was always the sticking point with him.
Fair enough. So, as we also talked about, we did have the draft lottery as of yesterday over at Mr. Skillman's house. It looked like we had a good amount of the GMs. I think sounded like Cam was there. Was McShannock there?
McShannock was not there, so every team was represented with at least one GM.
Who had the salmon shorts on?
That could have been Whoop.
Oh
I don't
wow,
know.
Yeah,
he was looking really good then. It was like a back shot of it, and I thought it was McShannock.
Yeah, so we had Whoop and Shawnee were both there for the Seals. Both the Maroons were there. Both Americans were there. Trent was there for the Whalers. Me and Ty were there. Trent was for the Whalers. I'm missing. Oh, Skillman and Ryan Allen were there. So not sure if I'm. And then as far as non GMs, you had Dylan and then Cam. So they asked to crash the party, so I let them.
Yeah, I appreciate the vote or the invite, Troy, but unfortunately I was just getting done getting a new water heater tank installed in my house, so it wasn't very feasible. It wasn't the best surprise waking up Monday without any hot water and seeing that a rusted hole in the bottom of the water tank happened.
Yeah, that's what happens with water heaters when they go, and you got to puddle. But it was very nice to see everybody. It was just kind of. It was fun. Made you feel like you were on the Labatt Blue party deck a little bit, and anxious to get things going again. Everybody misses hockey. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So
That was a fun little teaser.
over to the lotto. We did the goalies order as we said. It was the Whalers, the Americans, the Nordiques, the Maroons, the Seals, the North Stars, and the Tigers. We kind of talked about this a little bit. It's probably Dylan or Cam as that top pick. We'll see if the Americans stay with the buddy as the goalie or if they'll go skill. I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy's great as well, so you never know there. But I think that'll be interesting, and we'll kind of see how the rest of it falls.
Yeah, it's tough to have too much of a with so many unknowns in the goalie situation. It's tough to have too much debate. I do think the Whalers had Cam this year, and they didn't have that much success. Not that it's Cam's fault, but the reality is, I just see Trent probably going a different direction. So I think Dylan is the safe pick. He's going to show up every week. He's going to be great in the locker room. And Cam is as well, but I just think that they want to change things up. If they had had some more success, they'd probably take Cam just to kind of keep the thing. But I think they probably want to shake things up. So I think they'll take Dylan, and I'd be shocked if Aniak didn't take his buddy because I think he is a good goalie, plus he's his pal. And then it'll get interesting after that because we'll see what goalies we have and we'll see who gets picked, And I think Ryan Z and Riley, everyone kind of knows what they are, and they're solid, but I think that people will roll the dice on the new guys because maybe they catch lightning in a bottle and, get someone like Dylan to lead their team.
Yeah, obviously you got to get those goalies out there for a few skates. GMs, Doug, Joey, that's going to be crucial for you guys, especially if, depending what happens with Cone. If Cone is playing goalie, you kind of know what you're going to get possibly in that Cam pick. If not, it turns into a big wild card for you.
Totally. And you can't, in my opinion, overreact to what you see in that rate skate. So if somebody's just looking like they're on fire and stopping everything, I don't know. I still don't know that I'll be sold. They'd have to be looking amazing for me to choose them over known commodity.
Yeah,
because I've seen both. I mean, I remember when Ryan Z came into our league. He was lightning in a bottle for us in the Whalers. He just carried us. Maybe that was the Ducks actually.
Ducks.
It was the Ducks, and he was amazing for that stretch. He turned our team around. And I've seen Riley play amazing too, and I've been on a team where he was playing great. So I don't have a problem with any of those guys on my team personally. Maybe this is going to be a spicy thing where I get to maybe talk to Joey and try to make a goalie deal if somebody's really hankering for somebody in particular.
Trade back to that 7th goalie pick and move up somewhere else in the player draft. You never know.
Yep.
Yeah. The couple things on the goalie, like the losing the Cone and J-Flow, and again, they've earned the right to do it, but it's not just the fact that they're great goalies. They're just so damn reliable. Like they show up every week. You don't have to worry about like, are they going to make it? They play every week. They sub for other teams. So I'm definitely just going to miss their consistency. Real quick on Ryan Z, I expect Ryan Z to have a much better year this year. He was coming off of knee surgery. I mean,
Exactly.
I literally think like, he wasn't even healthy until, healthy enough to even play until like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th week of the season. And then he was trying to play with a recovered knee. So I expect him to be back to his old self. So I'm expecting to have my, you never know what's going to happen, but I expect we have the number 6 pick. So I think I'll have my choice between Ryan Z and Riley. And if Riley leads us to the keg, which you two don't think that he will, but we're hoping.
That's coming. I do it.
But if he takes us to a keg, it's like, how would I not draft him again? And Riley's another guy. He's a little quieter and he doesn't sub as much for other teams, but Riley shows up every week. He's rock solid. And in the locker room, he's just like, after he was such a breath of fresh air of quietness after having Spicy Pender on the team for so long. It was just so nice to have a guy that just shows up, stops the puck, and that's it.
Spicy.
So, and I love Spicy too, and it's I love Spicy too, but it's just every locker room needs something different. And we had enough, between me, Pete, we had enough talkers that, we didn't need. We needed a quiet guy, so Riley's been a perfect fit for us.
Yeah, I bet you can't go wrong with that. Like you said, a lot of times consistency of just people showing up is nice as well. A goalie especially, because finding a goalie sub can be a pain. Even players though, because I want to say it was the Whalers. Like it was like 2 months before we had our full lineup ever, and then it was like we probably had our full team like 4 times all year. So it can be frustrating, especially when you're not used to certain things. If you get that consistency there, it can help your team play better instead of bringing in different subs all the time.
Yep.
Sure.
Good question.
So as far as the skaters go, in the lottery, we had the order of the Maroons, the Tigers, the Whalers, the North Stars, the Nordiques, the Americans, and the Seals. So the rookies, GMs, come out on top with that top player. Congratulations, Doug.
Oh, thank you. I was watching those ping pong balls like a crazy person, man, because it looked like our second ball was going up that chute, but then it stayed out. So our dreams come true, and we get the ability to draft the dream maker, Proctor.
Rumor has it he's not a big fan of the color maroon, and he's a little hesitant about joining the team. Has he had any? Has his agent contacted you all about holdouts?
Yeah, any reluctancy was quelled today. I sent the Maroons tailor to his place to get the measurements, so things are smoothed over already.
You made sure there was a nice bottle of bourbon along with that.
Yes, exactly.
And
massage his shoulder, his collarbone a little bit, make sure it's feeling good. He's starting to get his mojo back.
Good to hear that. Now, Troy, on the other side, I know your dream is crushed that you might not have Mr. Charles Mackey on your team this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like mentally, and everyone knows my history with benders and my bender avoidance strategy, but mentally I had kind of like prepared myself. I'm like, okay, well, Proctor, and then we'll have Maki, and I'm going to keep him. I'm not going to trade him. I'm going to get him on a fitness program. I had it all planned out that after I drafted him, I was going to put him on a scale, and that was going to be like day one, like whatever that number was. And then we'd have a different number on week 1 of the season. And then we'd work our way. I had big plans for Charles in my mind, but it just didn't work out. So after the lottery, I sent him a text. I said, "Go eat donuts and pizza." And he said, "Yep, I'm on it." So
Let me ask you a question, Troy. You realize you still have a 10th round pick that is going to be before that last pick. You could draft Charles if you really wanted.
I could, but I won't.
That, that
Wow.
that that's more than fair.
No, I could trade. I could trade. We'll see. Maybe Dougie throws in a little something. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, there's possibilities galore. I love C. Maki. He was a part of the Spitfires winning organization.
Oh, Maki's like the best bender of all time because he's just so sexy and so charming and so nice and
Yeah,
the
man.
great guy to have around. So
Who doesn't like that giggle in the locker room? You tell a bad joke, he laughs every time.
yep,
It's awesome.
yep, I agree.
Like my scouting report says, he's a positive locker room guy, slack guy. Negative, he likes cats. So
Yep, yep. I do think as far as the actual lotto, I think there's a few different decision points, and a lot of this will be determined. Little breaking news. So Matt Taylor, I had sent a text message to the Taylor brothers just to confirm if they were going to be in. So Matt Taylor's confirmed in. So that's one fact. So I think the first real interesting pick is the Tigers. They're sitting at number 2, just like last year. Proctor's going to be off the board, and do they roll with Matt Taylor again, or do they go with Pfister? I mean, Pfister is super productive. You get the Uncle Pfister bonus, so that's going to be the first very interesting pick to see if they go Matt Taylor again or if they go with Pfister. And Skillman, the Tigers are so annoying. They're so close to the vest. It's like I'm all in favor of being close to the vest when there's a reason for it, but there's no reason. It's like we know the Marine. You get to pick whoever you want, so it's like it's not going to change anyone's preparation. It's like the Whalers are going to take whoever you don't take. So it'll be interesting to see. That's the first really interesting pick in the first round for me.
well, and then you look at it. The Whalers are up next. They'll take the other guy, and then if you say Pfister and Trent with the number one goalie they want, or if you say Matt Taylor and Trent with that goalie, that's already a nice setup right there.
Yeah, no, the Whalers, we'll see. I mean, they're set up to succeed. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if they can fuck it up like they do every year, but they're going to be in a real nice spot because they're going to have a marquee player, then Trent, a marquee player in the second round, and then they're going to have a marquee goalie. So no excuses out of Whalers camp this year.
Now this wasn't on the agenda, but kind of got brought up in chat. How close are we into locking in draft statuses for GMs?
That's going on as we speak. Some of the GMs are not hard decisions, just the way it works out. But where it gets trickier are when you get to the end, like the ends, because like Dougie and Brennan, there's a lot of speculation because the difference between a 5th round and a 6th round is 14 spots. So like some guys. If you're the last pick of the whatever, for Dougie, it would be the first pick of the 5th round or the last pick of the 6th round. I mean, that's a huge difference. And then same thing with Brennan. With Brennan, we're debating either the first pick of the 7th round or the last pick of the 8th round. So it's a big bandwidth. So it's tricky. And then, but we're closing in on it. We're going to ask for some input from some unbiased sources to land on it, but we'll figure it out. So they're not locked. To answer your question, they're not locked in yet. But some of them are.
Specifically, let's talk about your keeper position.
What round do you think I should be? You've seen them on.
I mean, you're a top 10 scorer, so I don't know, 4th.
Yeah, well, I think it's happen. I'm probably going to land in the 5th round is what it's going to look like, and that puts me with, the Bronchitles, I don't know who else is around me, but 4th round would mean I'm getting drafted above Peso, the Dave P. It's like, I mean, I'm better than those guys, but they're just way better skaters, So I think 5th round. I think 5th round is appropriate for me.
I mean, and we've seen your cardio level in that suicide sprint today. Obviously, it still needs a little bit of work. Even though I'm gonna say it, I was impressed by some of those runs that you posted. Though I couldn't do those.
Yep. Just hey, brick by brick, But yeah,
You can
so
do it, Piercy.
mine's not really up for debate too much. I'm more advocating for tie, and again,
Well,
it's
the
just
Twitch audience wanted to know about your draft round for the record. That is
yeah. I think
partially
in the
why I
mock that
asked.
I think in the mock that I circulated this morning, I was a sixth round. I don't think that that's going to stay. I think I'll be bumped up to a fifth.
Now, Doug, over on your guys' side, that is a tricky thing. Like he was saying, like the first pick in the seventh round for Joey, or last in the eighth. Like last in the eighth is probably low for him, but seventh is, no offense, first pick in the seventh is probably really high. Like, are you guys considering of maybe splitting the difference on like one's the higher spot, one's the lower, or like how are you going about this, like debating these positions and trying to fight for what's best for your team?
Yeah, it's a big swing because of where we are with the snake draft, right? And I didn't have enough time today to do an actual mock and lay out what the differences would be. But there's a lot of suggestions that whatever it is, we need to come to a middle ground. So if I'm bumped up to a fifth, then he's called an eighth, or if I'm left as a sixth, that he's called a seventh, to some sort of a middle ground between the two. Just because if you add up, I don't know if I'm thinking this through right, Troy, because again, I haven't laid it out yet. But if that is a net difference of between the two because of the swing of the snake, about 28 picks, that's a lot.
Yeah.
If you're talking about switching around the picks like that. So I get it. I'm not trying to be sleazy about it. Yeah, it's super tricky for sure. And the other thing is that in full transparency, I was trying to go out as a forward this year. I had started to do it in a lot of the spring skates, and I joined the Troy Sting like senior men's league, and was skating as a forward with those guys, and I was just loving it. You guys know I have a lot of energy and just skating like crazy up and down the ice, and I was actually getting a little bit of production with it. So I was going to try to do that this year, and I haven't really nailed that down with Joey yet in terms of what we want to do with the team. And I don't know if it's going to come down to like actually making a decision while we're in the midst of the draft to say, all right, shit, we've got no defenseman, so hey, I'm staying back. That's totally fine by me too. But
Yeah,
it would have been cool to go up as a forward.
when it comes to keeper value, I would suggest fighting for you being a six and Joey maybe being a seventh, because you're probably going to get more value out of that fifth round pick than the other rounds. So the earlier rounds are probably more valuable. So if you got to give one way or the other, make yourself a later pick and Joey an earlier pick.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one thing that I'd like to point out that some people get lost in the shuffle is that they look at just one of the GMs. I advocate, and I think it's the right approach. I think you have to look at both GMs, and this is what I said today. Like in an ideal world, just the way it works, that you have your GM, right at perfect value. They get assigned right where they should. But reality doesn't work out that way because of the snake draft and just the way it works. And I just don't think it's fair for a team to get like above average value for both of their picks. And so if you get like Trent, for example, he's pretty good value in the second round. So if Busta was if kind of like hemming and hawing whether he should be a ninth or a 10th or an eighth or a ninth, you don't want to get the benefit of the doubt twice, and so that's my whole. So a lot of these with Doug and most people try to be fair about it, and but I think you need to look at both of them. Like Skillman, for example, like he gets in like the very end of the fourth round, and I think that's really good value for him. But if you put him in the third round, I mean, then that's just you can't put him in the early third. So the late fourth makes sense. But then you could make a case for Ryan Allen being, a little bit lower. But it's like skill. You can't get great value with both of your picks. So I think you have to look at them, at both and try to make it fair.
I will say though that being new to the Ivory Tower and a part of this discussion is very captivating. Even though I'm participating, to just sit back and watch this unfold it's incredible. There's a large spectrum of opinions, and Skillman tried to collect them and assemble them today, and there was a decent amount of alignment, but there's a couple that are still very polarizing. I definitely understand that the Maroons, in particular, are a hot topic, and Whoop is also a hot topic for good reason because he's transformed himself. And yeah, there's a lot to still nail out for sure.
Yeah, like I said before, is Whoop has definitely been trying to do some campaigning. So if people come for, outside views, trying to campaign to say
Oh
like,
yeah,
hey, if they come to you, will you tell them this? And I'm like, no.
Whoop's not even a discussion. His round is, but my point is that it's not anybody's fault. Like it's not Doug. There's no right answer for because I think with Doug in particular, like I don't think if he's assigned the fifth round and he's the first pick of the fifth round, I don't think that that's right. Okay. But if he's assigned the last pick of the sixth round, that's not right either. Because he would if he were in the live draft, he would probably go somewhere in like the late fifth to early sixth. So it's not Doug's fault that it's just the way that the lottery played out. So you're trying to just do the best that you can, and it's not it's not an exact science.
And I
if
totally...
you look at me next to Eric Lapoudre, like come on, man, that's just in terms of especially side by side defenseman comparisons. There's no comparison there. And I'm not just trying to be modest. Like, there's no way that I even hold a candle to what he does on the defensive end. I have zero shot, and I have very, very just like I'm a newfound defenseman. I've only been doing it for a few years. He's clearly been doing it for a long time. He knows where to be. His instincts are great. So when I see my name next to him, just because of where I'm landing in the draft, it does feel a little bit weird. But we'll find a way to make it work. And I'm not. Neither Joe or I are trying to be sleazy about it. We're trying to be fair and end up at a good spot for everybody.
I agree.
And I don't disagree with maybe like as defenseman to defenseman, but on the flip side of that, you'll learn this going through, and from being a spring GM, it's nice to have guys on your roster that have some flexibility. So Eric Boudreau has no flexibility. You cannot put him at forward, and yourself, it's like maybe defense to defense, you might take Eric Boudreau over yourself, but if you need someone to play grind line center and log a lot of ice time, you can do that. You can put yourself at center on the second line, and Eric Lapoudre is not going to be able to do that. So.
I've seen Eric play forward before. He's not a fan, and he does not want to do it. We have had games with the K-Felks where we got up, surprisingly, the newer K-Felks, we got up pretty big, and it's like Drager was like, got to switch up the lines. You're moving forward. Like 2 shifts later, him and Peso sneak back to their normal positions. He's like, nope.
Easy E.
Exactly.
The other thing and trust me, I'm engaged, but sometimes you need to take a step back and just realize it really isn't that. Like, for example, like let's just talk about Ty, because that's been a hot button issue for me. Whereas Whoop has transformed his body one way, like Ty is in horrific shape. So if he's locked in as a 9th round pick, then I'm forced to take Ty, and guys like Weaver and Gumma are going to get drafted, or Gibb. One of these players, just by doing the mock, are going to get drafted after him. And there's no other GM in there. You can't tell me that with a straight face that another GM would draft Ty over Weaver. You just wouldn't. So I think Ty fits more in but so my point with just Ty, I think in the 9th round, he's not good value at all for our particular draft slot. But in the 10th round, he's good value because he's just of where he's at in the 10th round. And it's the same thing for Skillman in the 4th round. Like, he's in a cluster. I think Skillman's in a cluster of the Dave Pease, the Kimmels, the Pesos. If he was in the open draft, I think Skillman is kind of in that cluster of players. And just by the luck of the lottery, he gets to draft himself at the end of that cluster. Whereas if they had pulled, like, let's just say they had pulled the number 6 slot, okay, then Skillman would probably be drafted at the beginning of that cluster, of those players.
To be fair, you sent me a list of 14 guys today in a message saying, can you rank these guys for me? Essentially, it would be 9th and 10th rounds. I had Ty 9th on that list, which for my count, which is 6, which would be the first pick in the 10th round.
No, do your math again, buddy.
1, 2.
That would be the
3.
second pick in the 10th round. Which would
I
be,
have 1, 2. Oh, there's 7 teams. Never mind. Yeah, second. But that is a case
so that
there. He's borderline between 9 and 10. Then.
exactly. I'm not arguing. Ty is a borderline player, but if I draft him but just using your rankings, if I get him in the 10th round, I'm getting X value by two picks of value, correct? If I get him in the 9th round, I'm drafting him 4 to 5 spots low, past his value. So he's closer to my draft position in the 10th than the 9th by your own analysis.
Yeah, I would say though that range is pretty darn tight though, so it's kind of a coin flip either way.
And that was my next point, is that when you step back from this, if Ty's in the 9th round, I'm getting Ty and a Venandi, right? If Ty's in the 10th round, I'm getting a Weaver and a Ty. So it's really not that. It's a big deal, but it's not a huge deal. You're going to get similar type players.
Yeah, I agree. So that's all the topics that I have for tonight. Does anybody else have anything?
Not me.
I'll take that as a no. So, yeah, I mean, we got back. I don't know how often currently we'll be having podcasts just because I don't know how much news or how much there is to talk about. But, we gather some more topics. We'll, maybe the next one will be in person. Who knows?
I do want to say one more thing just for the people. So, obviously, the timeline of these things, it's all contingent on what the governor allows things to do, the world not ending, everything like that. But I think the plan, subject to demand, is, let's just say hypothetically the rink opens up, let's just say July 10th or whatever the first Monday is after 4th of July. I think what we will do is just rent out the ice for the remainder of the summer for 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And then we'll do some drop-in skates. We'll finish the keg finals. We'll do drop-in skate evaluation skates. Because I think there's going to be, I could be wrong, but I think there's going to be a pent-up demand for people to, skate, even if it's a drop-in type situation. And then we're going to try to have the draft in, mid-July so that we can get the jerseys ordered. And maybe we'll do some preseason games in August like we've done historically. But I do think that when the ice is available, I think we're going to rent the 9 o'clock and the 10 o'clock sheets through July and August. And all of this is tentative, subject to change, of course.
I would say, based on timeline, would we ever consider trying to get an evaluation skate or two in before the finals? Because if we needed to get those jersey orders in, it could be kind of time frame wise, could be tough.
That's exactly my point, is that we will have the finals will be played at 9 o'clock, and then we will have drop-in / evaluations at 10 o'clock. That's when we would rent the sheet for both. And then once we have the draft, then historically what we've done is, we've done preseason games, 4 teams per night. So, and I think that I'm assuming that there's going to be a pretty, I think the guys are going to want to skate. I could be wrong about that. I know maybe there might be some apprehension, but that's the kind of the tentative game plan.
Sounds good. We can only, hopefully the numbers still go the right direction and things can open up more and we can get some hockey going in the next, I guess, month, maybe a little bit more, 4 to 5 weeks. So sounds like the game plan from the state, and hopefully it'll stay. And, then we'll have to look at what the rink says the rules are and try to follow it the best we can and go from there.
The only thing I'm hoping that it's obviously not going to be no holds barred once it's open. So there's going to be some restrictions. I hope those restrictions allow us to play games. Because there could be something, only 5 people on the ice or something like that. So I'm sure at a minimum there's going to be, extra time in between games, and each team takes up 2 locker rooms. They have to exit the building before then. These are just some of the regulations I've read from other states, and so there's going to be something. But I hope that we're allowed to have 20 people on the ice or excuse me, 20 people in the rink and 10 people on the ice so we can actually play games. But it's just wait and see, and we'll be prepared for every option.
Yeah, I guess, there's nothing we can do about it right now, so we might as well wait till we hear officially what happens instead of, worrying about it and let us bug us until it actually goes down.
Yes.
So, yeah, like I said, it was nice getting back here. Doug, Troy, I'd like to thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Always
It's nice to see your guys' faces and have a little chat.
Next time we're going to be at the well.
Maybe.
Let's hope so.
We'll open some windows, Piercy.
We'll see. So, yeah, we are over then. See you later.
Good night.